This past week, Pat gave me a call. I was at work, and on Bob Duco's show, they were talking about marijuana. Okay, and I just did a radio program on that myself about a month ago. I did a 2-week thing on MUZ on why marijuana is not a good thing. And so I was going to call in, but he was focusing on a different topic. He was focusing on, if it's legal, should we smoke it? I mean, not should we smoke it, can you smoke it and not be a sin? Right now, or when it's illegal, we have biblical mandates saying no, okay, because it's anything, if it's illegal, unless it violates Scripture, we can't do it. We're supposed to follow the laws of the land. But what if it's not? What if it's not? Okay. Now, my view on this is a little bit different, because my problem with it is not so much the moral side of it, but the medical side of it. Okay, and so that's why, and plus he took so long. When they opened up the lines, I had patience, so I couldn't call in. But anyway, I didn't really address the moral side of it. I addressed the medical side of it. Okay, and just briefly, let me explain to you why I am so against it. Okay, I may have said some of this before, but I just want you to understand, and maybe if you can tell your family. All right, this is why there are several reasons I'm against it. Number one is the effects that it has on the developing brain. Your brain isn't fully developed until you're 25 years old. Okay? From the age of 10 to 25, there is a process that takes place in the brain called competitive elimination. By the time you get to 25, you have only 100. You've lost half of your brain cells, are gone. How do you decide which brain cells to target for elimination? That is based on a number of processes. In a normal brain, if you have been raised in a traditional way, now by traditional I mean pre-digital, when the digital age hit, it changed everything. And the reason that I'm so busy is because we have done the grand experiment. Instead of normal child rearing, something weird has happened. With the digital age, with cable television and Facebook and so forth, what typically happened all the way up, you see, in our generation, we had the same childhood as our parents and their parents and their parents. In the wintertime, we went outside and played. We had sleds. We ran down hills and went sliding. After school, we went out with our friends. I had a blast. We'd stay out till the street lights went on, okay? We spent a lot of time with our friends. We experienced joy, most of us. Joy in our friendships. I mean, having a blast. I mean, visiting with the cousins, visiting with the friends. We had a blast interacting with other children. In that play and normal exercise and experience, we learned that people are valuable. We learned that interacting with people is a great source of deep fun and fulfillment. People are important. It's not all about me. Okay? As a child, you learn that through your play experience, through your interactions. You also learned, you didn't know it was part of your education, but it was, you learned nonverbal communication. You learn that people don't always mean what they say. You learn when you're starting to offend somebody by the expressions on their face, by the tone of their voice. This is part of the learning from your peers. Now, you learn some of it at home, but when you went out with your friends, you learn more. You learn that your friends will turn their back on you if you keep lying to them, okay? All right? You learn what you can get away with and what you can't. These are all normal processes. With the digital age, that has all changed, okay? The amount of face-to-face interaction and so forth has gone down to a fraction of what it was. And so this is the experimental. These kids today, people on 30 and under, these are all experiments, and it's not going to turn out well. But anyway, the brain develops by activity-dependent experiences. And so as you go through and you meet these milestones, and as you learn these things, the material that was useful for childhood experience is targeted for destruction, while the material that's useful for adult development, those pathways are preserved. Now, who decides which pathways to get rid of? The endocannabinoid system. Okay, your endocannabinoid system decides which neuron pathways to eliminate and which to preserve for adulthood. Okay? There are 2 chemicals that it uses. 5 arachidonyl glycerol and an anandamide. Okay, those are released by an area of the brain called the hypothalamus. Now what happens is as each year goes by, these two drugs, these two substances come out, and they come out in very specific concentrations, and they basically affect cannabis 1 receptors and to some degree cannabis 2 receptors, but mostly CB1 receptors, cannabis 1 receptors. And so they touch those receptors with a specific touch. So the concentration has to be just right. And so it's like playing a piano. When you play those notes, you have to press the right keys, also at the right strength of the keys. Some you touch lightly, some you touch hard, but you have to touch the keys at the appropriate sensitivity, so at the appropriate pressures. That's what the endocannabinoid system does. So as you get older and older, you play the keys, you play the right notes, you unlock the next level of maturity, and then you play those keys, and then you unlock the next level of maturity. And so normally, when you go from 10 to 25, 3 things improve. Number 1, learning and memory. Remember, the endocannabinoid system unlocks that. So learning and memory. So your working memory. So think about memory chips for your computer. Would you rather have 4 megabyte chip or a 4 terabyte chip? A terabyte, absolutely, yeah. So working memory goes up normally. And so as you unlock maturity, your working memory increases. That's what's supposed to happen. As you get older and older, motivation increases. When you're a little kid, when you're 14, 13 years old, do you worry about 5 years from now? No, you don't. Your motivation is for right now. I want to feel good now. You know, you're thinking about tomorrow. You're thinking about getting that goal now. You're not thinking about the future. You're not motivated to think about the future. Motivation goes up as you mature. Okay, that's one of those things you unlock. It gets higher and higher and higher. So, learning working memory, motivation, and lastly, your ability to control your mood. The prefrontal cortex, as it advances, the ability of your logical brain, we call it the parent brain or the upper brain. Your logical brain exerts power over the emotional brain. When you're a kid, when you're a teenager, your emotional brain's it's calling all the shots. Your apparent brain is like absent. All right? Your parent brain can't control it. The emotional brain is so hot. And so when teenagers, when adolescents have temper tantrums, oh my goodness, they can't see reason because the logical brain's not fully developed yet and it doesn't have the power to control it. That improves. As you mature, it gets better and better. From the age of 10 to 25, those improve. So increased working memory, increased motivation, increased mood regulation. Those improve normally from 10 to 25. And what does it? The endocannabinoid system. It orchestrates a series of receptor activity and voila, it unleashes the next level of maturity. So what happens when a 13, 14, 15-year-old smokes marijuana? Marijuana contains THC. THC is like lead poisoning to the brain. And I mean that. I'm not trying to be dramatic. I mean it. It's like lead poisoning to the brain. Okay? What happens is, it's like imagine you have Beethoven trying to play his 5th Symphony on the piano there. And along comes a 3-year-old and at the same time starts mashing on the keys. Are you going to be able to appreciate the music? No, it's all noise. That's what THC does to the endocannabinoid system. Your endocannabinoid system is trying to unlock their brain so that they can mature to the next level. And when they're smoking weed, if they're exposed to THC, you block that. And guess what? It's irreversible. It's irreversible. We have a lot of 20, 30, 40, 50-year-olds who have the maturity of a 13 and 14-year-old. They never advance to the next level. Okay, it's permanent damage. It prevents maturation of the brain. So that is my number one problem with THC. If let's make it legal, let's make it recreational. Okay, understand, this is like lead poisoning in that it's irreversible damage. Now, after 25, that's another set of problems, but not nearly as severe as under 25. Yeah.
Are some people more susceptible to that? I grew up, and
yes.
On one side of me was a huge pothead. On the other side of me was a huge pothead. The one guy is pretty immature even now, The other guys, like PhD.
Here's the issue with it. Here's the issue here. Okay, some people, all right, when it comes to the majority, see, completing adolescence is the most important thing. Okay. Now, some people do not complete adolescence till around 20 years old. Okay. There are some people that complete adolescence at 16. Okay, so that's your variability right there, and that's why some people, yeah, they smoke weed, but they started when most of these processes were. And so the thing is that you can still function in the adult world and not be mature.
Right.
You're just not going to live up to your potential. So what we're talking about is a massive loss of potential. Okay, if you want to get a really good job, you need your working memory. Okay, I mean, if you ask a kid, when you grow up, how much of your working memory do you want? 100%, 5%, 10%, what would you choose? You know, it's like, that's the cost. I mean, it's like if you don't have your full working memory, then your careers are limited. And your motivation, this is the big issue. I mean, you wonder why is it that people who smoke marijuana tend to live with their parents forever? It's one of the things, part of motivation is when you get to be in late adolescence, it starts to bother you because you start thinking, wait a minute, one day I would like to have a family of my own. I would like to have a house. I would like to have a car. You know, and it's like, well, wait a minute. If I'm going to have those things, I need to do something now or I'm going to be stuck here. I don't want to be here. And that's part of motivation is you look at the long term and you start to feel restless. Guess what? THC blunts that experience. And that's not just for young people, that's for everybody. And that's one of the problems with adults is that with THC blocks you from feeling restlessness that you should feel. Okay, but it's motivational restlessness. Okay, so people do, I want to relax. Well, you're knocking out your motivation here. Okay?
I have a question.
Yeah.
When you said that the brain doesn't mature till 25, is that any different for the female or the male? I
Little bit.
always heard it was
A little bit. With
higher
females,
for male.
it takes a little longer actually to fully complete the process.
Oh, I heard the opposite.
No, well, females reach emotionally. They tend to mature earlier than men, but the process of maturation takes much longer with women. Okay. Okay. Schizophrenia is due to an interruption in this process. Okay. For men, the onset of schizophrenia is between 15 and 25. For women, it's between 25 and 35. Okay. And so that reflects that maturational difference. So yeah, women tend to, they start to mature earlier, but they do not complete until much later.
Oh.
Okay? Yeah.
Now, are there some positive uses of marijuana, like does it help with?
That's a whole nother lecture. But yeah, with cannabidiol, yes, with cannabidiol. Marijuana is 500 chemicals. When you smoke weed, that's 500, and under no circumstances do I support using, no, it's 500 chemicals, okay? THC is the most potent psychoactive agent. Cannabidiol does have beneficial uses, okay? So pure cannabidiol, I have no problem with.
Oil.
Well, that's CBD is an oil, yeah. But the thing is, a lot of those dispensaries, they don't sell. They say it's pure CBD oil, but it's not. It's got THC in it, and so I'm not a fan of any. But my point of all this is to bring it down. It says, what does the Bible have to say about doing stuff like this? It says, well, you know, the Bible says, you know, don't get drunk with wine and so forth. Well, this isn't really wine. It's one of those things. It's kind of like cigarettes, only a little worse. Okay, I mean, in that regard. So I mean, it doesn't offer condemnation, but it's kind of things that your body is a temple, and you want to think about it. And so, is it good for you? And that's kind of what this comes down to. It doesn't say anything about marijuana. Okay, and it's not illegal. If it's not illegal, then it's not illegal. But is it good for you? Okay, and it's like, well, are cigarettes good for you? Is excessive alcohol good for you? No. And for a grown up. For people over 25, the big issues are the effects that it has on memory, because it does have, if you smoke heavily, it has neurodegenerative effects. It causes a 1% volume loss in the memory centers, 1% per year, which isn't bad, and that's for heavy usage. But again, for light usage, it can lead to a little bit more irritability because it jacks up adrenaline, and it makes it hard to relax a little bit too, because it reduces the 5-HT1A receptors, the serotonin receptors. So you lose a little bit of that, and so your ability to calm down is impaired, and so people become more critical and less social the more they smoke. Okay, so there are some effects. So memory impairment and mood dysregulation. Those are problems that happen for people over 25. So the question is it good for you? The answer is no. I mean, if you are short with people, if you are less tolerant of others and more critical and have more difficulty calming down, it's not good for you. So for that reason, not a good idea. Okay?
So people that use it think that it's calming them down. And
Well, because it's because of the immediate effects. You know, vodka has the immediate effect of calming you down. But if you use it every time you're nervous, it's going to be bad. It calms me down every time.
Yeah.
Well, you got to pay for that, though. I mean,
they build up a tolerance where they have to keep using more and more.
well, that's what tends to happen is people end up using, especially young people. They have no sense. They keep more. You got these young people coming in. I'm only using 3 grams a day. Holy cow! Holy cow. Do you have any idea how much that is? I mean, or they come in and it's like, and the other thing, kids are using wax nowadays. Wax is pure THC. That's pure THC. They're vaping pure THC. I mean, it's a nightmarish. I mean, the number of every single week, I'm getting young people coming in who are they have psychiatric problems. 99% of it is marijuana related now.
Like what, candle wax?
No, it's THC wax. It's pure THC in wax form. So when they say they're using wax, when they say they're using wax, that's pure THC. So they're using it like crack cocaine, but it's pure. I mean, they're inhaling pure THC. Okay. So we live in interesting times. Now, spiritually, the problem is this. I mentioned the damage to motivation. Part of when do people make their decision to accept Christ typically? Between the ages of 18 and 25. Many people, that's when the big decisions for life are taking place. So as your brain is going through this process of thinking, how do I want to live my life in the future? What do I want for myself? What about after I die? I mean, what's going to happen to me? You start thinking longer and longer. It's part of your motivation is thinking about long term. What do I have to do now? What about that? And that's when people start, I don't feel that God's going to love me very much because I'm a sinner. And then you find out about Christ and about, hey, it's all paid for. And that draws us to Christ because we want that forgiveness. We want to get right with God. We don't want to go to hell. We want to experience that. We want to rescue ourselves from that horrible fate if we die. That's part of the motivational circuits. If those motivational circuits are offline and we're only thinking about tomorrow, what is the likelihood that we're going to be drawn towards spiritual realities and spiritual truths? Very low. So that's why this is, as a Christian, this is insidious because you're taking away the very thing that we need to make people consider God is deadening that biological impulse. Okay? It's deadening the motivation to make decisions for the longer term future. You can put it off. I don't want to think about the future. THC allows that. It allows you to not think about the future. It allows you to not be bothered about the future. Okay, so that's my take on it. And that's why I have problems with it. Okay?